Hey everybody, Dino here, and welcome to my world, the world of technology. Today I thought I'd show you some basic Linux commands. We are using the bash shell today, which is short for Born Again Shell, which is named after Stephen Bourne, who wrote one of the original Unix shells. The name is a play on words. A shell is a command line environment. There are other shells besides bash, but bash is the most commonly used shell, and it is often the default shell in various Linux distributions. In addition, many of the commands used in bash can be used in other shells as well. Here we are at the bash command prompt, and I'm going to type in pwd and hit return. You see that it lists out /home/Dino. That's the directory that we're in. Home is the directory where user data is kept. Dino is the name of the account on this particular machine. So my login on this machine would be Dino, and I have a directory named Dino under home that would have all of my data files in it and all the files I'm using. The next thing we're going to do is use the ls command. ls shows us just like a short listing of what's in our current directory. Right now we only have directories within our directory, so what I am going to do is I'm going to go to Documents, and I'm now in the Documents directory. If I list ls right there, there's nothing in the directory because I haven't put anything in there yet. So let's create a couple of files and start playing around with things. So first off, let's go back and I'm going to hit change directory and I'm going to put /. That's the root directory. And if we hit ls on that, we'll see there's a bunch of other directories under here. Bin, dev, home, which we just talked about. Dev, which is short for device. There's user, there's sys. These are all common Linux directories that have various things in them. Bin, for example, has programs in it. And as we said before, home contains user data in it. So what we can also do is we can type ls-l, and it gives us a more detailed listing. And this is similar to the detailed listing on Windows if you use Windows. And so it tells us what the permissions are. That's the left. It tells us also that this is owned by root in the root group, or many of the things in here are owned by root, who it's owned by. It tells us the time it was created, how large it is, etc. Also, if you look over at the left where all of the permissions are, R is read, W is write, and X is execute. And if you look at the extreme left, you'll see like some L's and some D's there. The D's are directories and the L's are links to other directories. So you can actually have a directory that's a link to a location someplace else, which is done for various reasons. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this command. So we did ls-l, but we can put a redirection symbol, which is just the greater than symbol right there. And we can actually put a path, which is going to be home /Dino/documents, which we were in before. And then we're going to put root directory log, we'll call it, in .txt. And we can name it anything we wanted, actually. Now if we go back to home, Dino, and documents, you'll see that we have a file here called root dir, which is short for directory, and log.txt. So that should have all the information that we had above in it. So if we actually use the cat command and type the file name, it writes out what's in the file. So that's a pretty nice command to have if you need to look at what's inside of a file. This isn't a very long file. Let's make a longer file. But let's look at another command first. There's a command called ps, which lists basically what processes are running, and that's showing us what's in the window here. But if we go ps aux, it gives us a more comprehensive listing of all the processes running. In fact, it's not only giving us what I'm running, but it's also giving us what root is running, and it tells us what user is running what. It gives us process numbers for all of the processes. And this is useful because you can actually take a process number and kill a process if you need to. And in order to find a process number, you need to use ps to find it. But let's run this command again and redirect it into a file. This time we're not going to put a full path. Before we were in a different directory. We were in the root directory, and we wanted to save the file in my home directory. So I specified the full path, home/dino/documents. But this time we're already in the documents directory, and that's exactly where we want it. So we only need to put the file name in this case. So I'm going to put pslog.txt right here. Now, if we were doing this regularly, you'd probably want to add a date in the name or something else to delineate multiple different files when you created them. But in this case, it's just an example, so we'll just use a simple name. All right, now, so if we go ls again, we'll see that there are two files now in my documents folder, and one of them's pslog.txt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go cat pslog.txt. And it actually ran through this entire file. In this window, we can actually scroll up to see how long this is. But a lot of times, we want to be able to page through a file. So we can use another command called more. And we're going to go pslog.txt. And when we hit more, it fills up the screen with information here. It's easier to read. And then if we hit the space, it pages up a page. If we hit enter, it just moves one line at a time. And if we hit the B key, it actually goes backwards. So we can move around and look what's in the entire file. That's a nice function. So if I hit Q, it will exit us from more. Or if I just kept on hitting the space bar until we ran through the entire file, it would break out of more automatically. So that's another nice command for text. There's a couple other really neat text commands. One of them is tail. And if we go tail pslog.txt, it will just give us the last few lines of the file. This is really useful for log files because a lot of times you want to see the last entries in a log file and you don't want to have to scroll through the whole thing, and this will just take you to the last few entries. So it's a really good command when you're looking at logs, or you periodically want to check what's going on at the time and the last few things that happen in a log. Another thing that you can do is we also have what's called a head command, and that will give us the very first part of the file, the first few lines. So that gives us the top of it. So we can use head and tail to see the beginning and the end very quickly. We can use more to actually page through the text file, or we can use cat to just run through the entire file very quickly. So these are all kind of little text commands that we can use as well. So that's pretty cool. Now, let's go back and hit ls again. What do we have in here? So we have pslog. So let's say we wanted to make a copy of the pslog. We can go cp for copy, and we can go pslog.txt, and we're going to name it pslog2.txt. We can also copy it to another location by specifying the full path to that location that we want to copy to. So we'll hit enter here, and if we hit ls again, you'll see we have a ps2.txt log. Now, if we want to get rid of that, what we can do is we can type remove and then ps log2.txt. And if we hit ls again, you'll see that it's gone. So that's a very useful command if you want to remove a file or get rid of it. Another thing we can do is we can make a directory. And the command to make a directory is mkdir, short for make directory. And since we're going to put the directory in the documents directory, we don't have to specify a full path, although we could if we wanted to. So let's just make a directory called logs, shall we? And so if I hit ls again, you'll see that we have a logs directory, and it's highlighted in blue on this particular terminal. And then we have a couple of files that we have made. If we go ls-l, you can see that it specifies the top is a directory. It has just a dash on these actual files here, and those are actual files. So directory means it's a directory if it starts with a D, and L means it's a link, a logical link to another directory. All right, so we have these, and now we have logs. So let's do this. Let's go back and let's copy pslog.txt, and this time we're going to copy it, and we're going to put the full path and then a file name that we want. So we're going to name this log, and we already used 2, and although we deleted it, we're going to call this 3. All right. And we're going to hit enter. And if we go and change the directory to logs, and we don't have to specify the full path since it's in a directory within the directory we're in. And we go ls, you'll see that there's a ps log 3. So within our logs directory, we have ps log3.txt. Now, let's try something else. We're going to go cp to copy, and we're going to put a full directory path, home, Dino, documents, /ps log.txt. And then since we want the copy in this particular directory, we don't have to put any path. We just need to put the file name, and by default it will go in this directory. So we're going to call this pslog4.txt. And if we hit ls here, now we have 2 files. We have a ps log3 and a ps log4 that we've copied. Now, the other thing that we can do is we can go up one directory, and to go up one directory, we can type cd and then 2 dots. 2 dots means go one directory above. 1 dot means look at the current directory, and those are kind of designations where to go or to start on a relative path when you're not using the full path. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go copy ps log, which is already in this directory, so we don't have to put the full path. And then we're going to copy it to dot, which is start from the current directory, logs, and then we're going to put a file name. We'll make it 5. And we'll hit enter. Now, if we go back and change directory to logs, go ls, you'll see that we have a 5 there as well. So that's how relative and full paths work in Linux. And a lot of times if you have problems copying a file or doing something to a file, you just may have the wrong path. And so it won't find it, or it will put it in the wrong location if you actually put a path that's the wrong path, but it exists in your copying a file, for example. So those are some basic Linux commands to get you started off. We even saw how we could redirect into a file a command, which is useful if you want to run a command that's listing a lot of stuff and you want a record of it, or you want to be able to kind of search or peruse through the file. You can use a greater than sign to push that into a file, the output of the command into a file. And that's really very useful on commands that have a lot of information, like processes, or if you have a huge directory with a lot of files. In fact, if you wanted a record of all of the files in this particular directory, you could actually go ls and say we wanted -l to get the full attributes of the file. We can redirect it, and we can make it in this case, let's go back up one level so that we'll put this in just the documents level, and we can put logs dir text for the files that are in it. And if we go back up, cd ... one level ls, we have logs directory, and we can go more logs dir .text, and so that lists all of the files that are in that directory. So that can be a useful thing as well if you want to actually have a list of every file in a directory. You can bring this into a spreadsheet. You can do numerous things with this information. Just very handy kind of command that you can use. All right, so that's kind of just an introduction to Linux commands. You may want to run through this video a couple of times, or go through it and start and stop and try this as you're going along. You can try it on an actual Linux machine, or a Linux machine in a virtual VM, or you can use Cygwin, which will give you a Linux command prompt that will run on your Windows machine. And I did a video on that the other day, so you can check that out too if you would like. I'm Dino, and this has been my world, and I will see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like.